Hey, Daniel, my name is Nate Hibbert. Thanks so much for responding to our email and taking the time to watch this video. I'm going to try and make this action-packed for you as I'm looking at how you appear online and all of your online assets, or maybe not all of them, but some of the key important ones that I can take a look at from an outsider's perspective and just give you a feel for how you're doing. I have a scorecard that I'm going to go over with you in just a moment. There's two things that I want for you to get out of this call. One is if there's any low-hanging fruit, so easy things to do within like 5-10 minutes that can potentially make an impact on your business and how you're ranking on Google. And the second is to show you the competition that I think is something that is worth comparing yourself to for the purposes of knowing how much effort and where that energy should be put in improving some of your online assets. I think this is important because the reason I got into this is some family members that had local service businesses and I was helping them. And I realized that you just can't do everything. You can't spend all the time that you want or spend all the money that you want to improve every single part of your business. So knowing who your competition is and knowing that you just want to rank either similarly or slightly above them is a really good place to be, because the main portion of what I'm going to look at is how you're ranking on Google Business Profile, which is like Google Maps. And if you can outrank people on Google Maps and be in the top 3 for your service area, then that's about all the effort that you need to put in, because 80% of the traffic is looking at those top 3 spots, and those top 3 spots is really what Google is pushing as well. So that's the kind of main effort that I like to put into these Google Business Profiles. Obviously, you can go above and beyond and nail all these and get an A+ in every section that I'm going to show you, but it's really about knowing your competition and beating out your competition so you can get one of those top 3 spots for your area. And that's a portion of this that I really like. Is it's very dependent on your local area, your service area. Everyone's a little bit different, so they all have their unique challenges and ways that we can get your ranking higher. But let me stop talking about it and show you what I'm looking at here. Make sure I'm pulling up the right screen for you. Okay, so this is the report card that we're going to take a look at for today. So just your overall grade is a C, and the person that I've identified, this lawn and landscaper who is in your area, is a C-. So you're actually doing better on an overall compared to them, but your website's doing some of the lifting for that. But there are definitely ways that you can start to beat them even more and start to rank higher than them. Now, these aren't all things created equal. Like, the amount of reviews that you have is super weighted by Google, meaning like this is a very important metric to have. So if we take a look, you have 96, which is really good. You're 4 away from a pretty milestone of 100, which is not only like just a nice round number, but is an actual metric that Google has for kind of their trust. A lot of things that I'm going to say is not an instantaneous, like this is going to immediately jump you up the list, but what I'm going to say is it's going to help you build more trust with Google. And a lot of those variables put together is where they rank you on that list. So you want to be building more trust with Google so that you can rank higher on the list, so that you can actually be ranked farther out in your area that you're competing with. So 96, and then this is the biggest competition in your area. He's got 239. So that's quite a big jump. We don't necessarily need to get to 239, but it is good to know who your competition is and what are some of the variables that are contributing to them being ranked higher than you. So one way, well, first let me explain how I found that these guys were some of your biggest competition. I go to the map and I take where you're located on the map and I draw a line about 50 miles out. And then I just keep getting smaller and smaller and hitting search this area to see who pops up. And then once your name is in the top 10, which is like a realistic competition for you, I like to see who the top number 1 guy is. And this lawn and landscape company came up. So that is how I identify who your biggest competition is. And then I just compare you to them to see what are some of the things that you're doing that they're not doing, which is good, and vice versa. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to split the screen here so you can see the report card on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side is the Google Business Map or profile. So for your business, you want to rank above 4.7. You are, which is fantastic. You want to have 30 or more reviews, what you do. These two things are very important because they're milestones that Google has. Basically, they're they're heavily weighted metrics for how much they can trust you. So if you're below a 4.7, they're actually going to start suppressing your business, and you're not going to be shown as much, even in other cases you would be. And the same thing for less than 30. You're above 30, which is fantastic, but there is another metric of being over 100 reviews that you'll get a nice little bump to how far you're being shown and how high up in the list that you're ranking. So that's something to definitely aim for. The other metric that I look at for reviews is, are you getting 2 review customers a month? You are, which is great. And are you responding to them? Which you are, which is also great. So you have response to all of your recent reviews, which is really great. These are things that Google's looking at for like how active are you? And again, activity and consistency are things that build trust with Google, again, helping you rank higher. So the next section here is kind of your baseline business information. You have, what you do in your name. So you got to check for that. You're in, the right category for you, which is landscaper, which is great. You can actually have multiple categories. And because you do lawn care and some tree service and, light hanging and things, I would try to add all of those to categories. If you haven't, there's a way that I can look at that from the front end. But it's easier to do once you're actually in the account. So there's something that could be done in 5 to 10 minutes. You can go in, add a bunch more of those categories, and just tells Google, these are all the things that you want to compete for and be known for when people are searching for them. So if you haven't done that, that's a really fantastic thing to do. You have a phone number on your account, which is great. You have a website link, which is great. You have social media platforms listed as Instagram and Facebook. Let's double check that these are correctly connected. Yes, every once in a while, these platforms are change their URL structure and kind of screw that up. It's like, it's not, monthly or yearly even. But if you haven't updated these in years in some areas, sometimes those links will just break. So it's worth checking. You have a booking link, which I don't actually see on here. So let me uncheck that. Maybe your competition didn't add that in the wrong spot. We can take a double check at that. You have a physical location, which is much easier to get ranked if you have a physical location rather than just having a service area. We don't need to touch too much on that. But the area that I do want to talk about is being open 24 hours. So let's look at your competition list here. And surprisingly, a lot of your competition also is not open 24 hours. Now, I don't know exactly how your business is set up. If you have a physical location that you have customers coming to, this is the best thing to do so that they know, when to show up at your office. If you don't have a physical location that you want customers coming to, being open 24 hours is an advantage because of the way ranking on Google works, which means that after 5 p.m., if you are, I apologize. Yeah, so after 5 p.m., if customers are looking for you, your business is going to be farther down the list, or as I call it, suppressed, because Google wants to serve their customers with businesses that are open. If you're looking for a store here and you're saying I'm looking for, chocolate, and they only want to show stores that will be actually open that you can go to and get chocolate from. They don't want to show places that are closed. That doesn't benefit those customers. So same thing here, when they're looking for tree services, Google wants to show your customers businesses that are open. So if you have customers that are looking for you after 5 p.m., you're going to be pushed farther down that list, which is not a good thing. So that's why I really like the strategy of being open 24 hours. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go out and do lawn care, at any time, or even that you're going to answer the phone at any time. But it does mean that customers are going to be able to find your Google business profile at any, hour of the day that they're researching for it. So that's one thing that you can think about. Obviously, it's not right for every business, but if that does make sense to you, again, another 5-10 minutes in your account, you can go in and change that and potentially get some more traffic, especially if they're looking after that 5 p.m., which quite a few calls do come in after that time for the other businesses I'm helping. So something to think about. It doesn't look like your competition is doing it, so it's not necessarily holding you back, but there are some people in your location that are open 24 hours, and that's the reason and the purpose behind why they've chosen to do that. The other thing is having your integrated CRM button. So this is probably the heaviest lift or the hardest thing to do on my entire scorecard, but this does have a huge impact. If you have a CRM that's partnered with Google, we really like Jobber and Jobber is, you can get a nice button on your account that says, book with us or get a quote now and things to that effect. No one in your immediate area has this. So the power of doing it is it makes your account unique. So if I'm just scrolling up and down, if I see a business with a giant button on there, that immediately stands out and will grab more people's attention and increase the likelihood of them clicking on your account. So that's a very powerful thing to do, but you do have to have a CRM already integrated into your business. If you don't, it's something we can assist with, but it is a pretty heavy lift, even though it has a pretty big impact, on how your listing looks. So just some information for you there. The next category that we're going to look at is media. So I can click up here and see some of your photos. You have a good amount of photos, which is fantastic, but you're not adding them recently, or you haven't added them within the last month. This is, again, another metric that Google's looking at. They want you to interact with this account quite a bit, and adding photos is one way that you can do that. So it's something worth looking at. The other thing is having pictures of your crew. Just in marketing in general, having humans and human faces, especially in any of your pictures and marketing materials, is a great way to build trust with people. Looking at the nice work that you do is one thing, but seeing who they might be working with and who they can trust is another great thing to do. So something to think about. And then video. You don't have any videos on your account, so that's another thing that you can add. And your competition does have pictures with their crew, and they do have videos. So these are two areas that you're missing out on. They're not adding pictures or videos monthly. So that is something that you can do to get a leg up on them as well. And then the last section for your Google Business Profile is the services listed as a products, weekly added updates, and a Q&A section. These are all a little bit more technical and things that you can do on the back end. You have had some updates posted here, but they're just not consistent, which is a really big deal to Google. So these are all ways that you can interact with your account. They're things that I do for the clients and the customers that I'm working with, just to show Google, like, hey, we're an active business. You can trust us more. You can rank us higher, and create section to do that. Your competition is not doing it, so it kind of doubles the effectiveness of this. If everyone's doing it, it's not quite as effective. But if your competition isn't doing it and you are, it's something that Google likes and will reward. So that's kind of a deep dive into just like the front facing things, the things that I can see without getting access to your account, for how you're ranking. So again, it's pretty good. You're not far off from what your competition is doing. A couple of small tweaks, a couple of things, those low-hanging fruit things in there that you can do to bump that up completely, for free on your own. Just as a gift to you, you can bump some of this up. But the big key here is the reviews, having a system for the reviews, and the consistency that you're doing some of these things. And that's things that I'm able to help you with if you're interested. The next two sections, your website and the directory optimization, I'm going to go through a little bit faster. I love to see this on your website. You have service pages and your location pages. So that's really fantastic. You're showing Google, you're giving Google a ton of information about the type of work that you do. And then also you have your areas we serve, and you have pages for each of these. So this is really well put together. This is a lot of information that you're giving Google and other search engines to optimize your website and to be ranked. So great job there. Your competition is not doing that. And I would say probably 95% of the websites that I look at are not doing this. So great job with the website and getting that ranked. The functionality is also great. You have a contact us form, which is obviously very important, but not everybody has. I think this request a quote button could be moved, where this employee login. I don't think that this is quite as important for just the general public. I think you could hide this button somewhere and have the request a quote button more prominent, but that's just my 2 cents. The other thing, look, you are using Jobber. So yeah, definitely if you're already using Jobber and you have your location, you have your address here, it's a couple of clicks to get that CRM button here. You do have to set up like a calendar, and there's a couple things that you have to do. It's not a ton of work, and it really make your Google business profile stand out. So I would highly suggest you take a look at that. This is great because it's integrated into Jobber. The reason we don't necessarily always love Jobber forms is because this question here, this can be a reason that customers are not sending these contact forms, just because you're asking for an address, and it's kind of like, it's too much on the first date is kind of how we think about it. Something nicer to do is just ask for the zip code. I know it's not necessarily possible inside of this Jobber form. So I would suggest, if you're getting a lot of these filled out, maybe you don't need to change anything. But if you're not seeing a lot of these filled out, and maybe you're getting a lot of traffic to this website, that can be one bottleneck or thing that's holding you back, is because you're asking for the street address, and not everyone's comfortable just typing in their address like immediately. Sometimes that's like, you get an email with their zip code, and then you reach out to them and get some more information from them. Makes people more comfortable, in our experience. Not always true, but it is something worth considering. But yeah, love that you're using Jobber. We're big fans of them. And for performance, you are mobile responsive, which is good, and your competition is not, but you are not fast loading, which we look at here. This is Page Speed Insight. This is a tool directly from Google. So this is one way that Google's looking at your website and how do they rank you. So you're responsive on mobile, which is great, but your speeds are down a little bit for both of these. Honestly, we'd like to see these above a 75, but there's a couple of things that you can look at and send to your website team. And this website does a really good job of like telling you exactly what the issues are. So it's easy for them to at least know what the problems are. It's not always easy to address them immediately. These numbers are pretty good, and honestly, I can give you the check for fast loading. We're normally looking for above 75, and you are for both of these mobile and desktop versions of your website. So I can give you that check, which is great. And then the directories. So I didn't fill this in necessarily for you. I have a new tool that I'm using here that just goes out and looks at a bunch of different directories, not all, a bunch of different directories. The big thing that it found here is that either this business has the same exact name as you and they're located in a different area, or it used to be located in this area and now your address changed, but you have not changed it on all these directories. The reason this matters and the impact that this can have is, again, how much Google is trusting you and the customers that are finding you on these websites. I didn't check necessarily for the phone number that you have attached or the website that you have attached to these accounts. But those are two things that, like, if you just have a bunch of traffic that's going to the wrong spot, either physically or online, that's obviously a bad thing and you'd want to correct. But if we did get all of these directories, there's about 40 of them, all pointing to your website and your Google Business Profile, that gives a lot of information to Google and shows that you can be trusted. Some of the customers that are even just starting up their businesses or don't have quite as many reviews or quite as a robust profile as you do, this is one of the first things I like to do, because it can honestly take them from like not ranking at all to start ranking within like weeks. I've seen this work. So directories are a really big deal. Google is paying attention to them. This makes your business look much bigger online, which makes Google trust you more, just because you're represented in more areas. This tool that I have makes it pretty simple for us to go in and make you accounts on all these, make sure all the information is pointing back to the right places. So this is a great thing to do, a great thing to be aware of. Again, if you have a team, your website team, maybe this is something you can ask them to do if you're already paying them for some help with SEO and things. But yeah, very, very important piece of information, and has a pretty big impact on how Google looks at your business and how much they trust you. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. If you're interested in hearing more or want to talk to me or have specific questions, I'm always glad to jump on a call. You can even book time with me directly in this calendar that I have linked below, and you can see some of our price points. pretty much everything that I covered here is going to be in this $500 a month package, where we're just taking a look at your Google Business Profile and managing that for you and helping you be consistent in some of those ways. But if you are interested in running ads, that's kind of our middle package. And then if you want us to handle pretty much everything that has to do with marketing, that's our highest tier package. I absolutely love this portion of it, but these first two steps are obviously important and have impacts on your business as well. So that's all I wanted to cover here. Just to give you 2 seconds about myself, I come from the more corporate marketing world. I was working for a really large chemical company, and we did campaigns with Nike and SpaceX, and sold to them. I interacted with them, so I was used to doing things on a pretty big scale. The thing that I hated was just how long things took and how much red tape there was. And I worked on projects sometimes for like 3 years before they'd ever see the light of day. So I had the opportunity to help 2 family members who actually had local service businesses. One of them is in tree service. And, through helping them kind of part-time and seeing that I could have some impact on their business and help them grow, I've now jumped full-time into just helping local service businesses. I'm not the best fit for everybody. I'm not trying to grow this thing, into a crazy huge agency or anything like that. I just want to help business owners that are interested in their business and want to meet more with their marketing partners. That's the thing that I saw with my 2 family members. They had marketing companies that they were paying several $1,000s to every month and had not talked to, in months. And so they didn't really know what they were doing. And so I did an audit very similar to the one that I just did for your business, and just showed them the results and said, hey, I think if I get in here and change some things, and I was able to prove that I was able to, increase the amount of leads and their exposure and things like that. So I was able to get those 2 jobs and just starting to grow kind of from there. I love to talk to local service business owners and small business owners and work with people where, I can see the impact of my work much faster than kind of the corporate geek I can. So if you're interested in that, if you want to talk to me, again, my link is on this website. I can send it inside of the email, but you have my contact information. You can get in touch if you're interested. But until we speak again, I'll see you later.